In his first 2 years with the Boston Celtics, Jordan Walsh was constantly bouncing back and forth between the NBA and G League. But this year, since putting him in the starting lineup, Boston has been 10-3, and despite him taking less than 6 shots per game, Jordan's statistically still having a major impact. Now, when diving deeper into his game, we have to start with his defense. First, at 6'6", Walsh has a freakishly long 7'3" wingspan. That length allows him to play much bigger than what he actually is. If he's in the paint and gets himself in front of the ball, he can offer good resistance by just extending up and putting his chest in front. He's obviously not Rudy Gobert, but there's not a lot of wings who have this kind of presence around the basket. But then to go along with that reach, Jordan's also a pretty explosive athlete, which adds another level of verticality in the paint, and also allows him to make plays on the ball from behind.
Down Will Riley, who's got it, blocked by Walsh.
Walsh also knows how to utilize that length while being pulled away from the basket. When defending out of pick and roll, there's no chance of lobbing passes over him. We'll see him here defending Scotty Barnes, who's setting the screen, and the 6'8" Brandon Ingram is going to try to pick up and lift this one-hand pass over Walsh. But again, like Inspector Gadget, he can reach out and break this up. Now, that unique build also makes Jordan very effective when defending off the ball. First, that length and speed allows him to cover a ton of ground and gap, where he can both dig down deep and help, to then shoot back out and contest shots on the perimeter. Look how he's going to shift down towards the nail to stop the ball, to then teleport back out towards the three.
Bending him now.
And even if he initially gets himself out of position, those physical tools are usually more than enough to make up the ground. The Celtics initially get caught with 2 on the ball on this pick and roll, and look how Walsh's first instincts are to rotate down towards the paint. But at the last second, he's still able to find a way to get a hand up in that shooting window. So whether he's defending in the paint, in gap, or trailing behind the ball, Jordan pretty much always finds a way to be impactful from every spot on the floor. And the thing is, we haven't even gone over the best part of his defense, which is going to be his ability to defend at the point of attack. On the ball, Walsh has the foot speed to step out, pressure, and contain the ball full court, which leads to a lot of rush shots and turnovers. Or at the very least, it takes the offense out of their flow. This is elite movement and effort here by Walsh, where Porter with the ball initially beats him with his half spin, and from here, he has a straight line towards the basket. But watch Jordan rotate those hips and scramble back in front. In open space, Walsh is also great at darting laterally and beating the offensive spots. And this is a similar thing that we went over with Asar Thompson, where he also has this way of teleporting across and keeping his hips in front of the ball. That kind of lateral movement pretty much makes it impossible to create straight line blow-bys. Off the screen here, Keyshawn George is going to try to set this drive up with and in and out. But again, look how Walsh slides across and stonewalls his drive. And while bumping towards the basket, George has no momentum, which allows the Celtics defense to swarm down towards the ball. And then again, what really separates Jordan on the ball is that along with that foot speed, he still has a crazy wingspan. So even if you're able to get him on your hip and chip your way towards the basket, there's still another layer of resistance that he has. Scotty Barnes on this play has him on his hip. And with no backline defense underneath the basket, this for him should be a routine bump and finish. But Walsh both having the foot speed to get back in front and the length to extend up makes things very difficult. Now, with any point of attack defender, their ability to navigate screens is a must, and Walsh has this in spades. Whether he's on or off the ball, he's great at playing physical and wedging himself between the ball and the screener. And this is where I think Jordan's strength is pretty underrated, because being able to press up, fight through contact, while staying on balance is pretty tough to do. I love the aggression on this play, where in semi-transition, George is going to receive the screen. But look how Walsh instinctively presses up and gets over. And once he stays attached to the ball, that length can pretty much take care of the rest. And what makes Jordan really special on the ball is that he has the right balance of not over-committing to the screen. As quickly here tries to refuse this pick to his left, Walsh is again able to move his feet, stay attached, and use that length to contest his shot in the lane. And that screen navigation was huge in their recent game against LA, where at the point of attack, he was giving Austin Reeves all kinds of headaches. And it all comes back to that length, foot speed, and physicality. I like this play here, where Reeves initially gets a good angle off the screen, but Walsh from behind takes this jumper away like a big brother. So again, when he's playing on or off the ball, Jordan is pretty much always going to have an impact. He's got the foot speed, the pressure, and wreak havoc beyond the three. the physicality and balance to blow up screening actions, plus off the ball that length and movement, makes him impactful from pretty much every spot on the floor. He can stop the ball in gap and recover to his man on the perimeter, while also being able to use that length to affect the ball down low. Across the NBA, there's only a handful of wing defenders who have this much versatility. Now, when switching over and looking at Jordan's offense, he kind of fills in the blanks for what Boston is trying to do. The Celtics are still a very backcourt, three-point, and isolation-heavy offense, and a lot of what Walsh does is spot up and capitalize off the gravity of Brown, White, and Pritchard. And since entering the starting lineup, Jordan is shooting a very efficient 50% from behind the line. While spotting up, Walsh does have a pretty good feel of spacing. When the ball gets driven, he'll often relocate on the three, setting up better passing angles. And he does have the balance and footwork to shoot on the move. I wouldn't say he's Steph Curry off the ball, but while spacing out and shifting to open spots, he can organize his feet pretty efficiently. Now, because Walsh is athletic, lengthy, and has a really good motor, he can also find ways to scrap for buckets. If he gets ahead of steam to attack with in the open court, he can be a pretty explosive play finisher, being able to charge up an open space and play above the rim, or pick up and use those strides to extend into finishes. In the half court, Walsh is also pretty good at cutting along the baseline and setting up these easy catch and finishes. And pretty much all of these looks stem from the isolation scoring gravity that Boston has. Look how Brown here pulls the entire backline defense up, and Walsh again cuts behind for an easy 2 points. One thing the Celtics will do a lot of is use Jordan as a screener in the middle of the floor, and this works especially well with an elite off-the-dribble shooter, where that pull-up threat typically pulls two defenders up, giving Walsh all the space to dive into. And like we've gone over, once he has space and momentum, he's really tough to deal with. Look how Derek White again here pulls two defenders up, and Walsh gets this runway to dive towards the basket. Jordan also does really good work on the offensive glass, and this is again where that length and motor plays a big factor, but I also think he has really good timing around the basket. He's just really good at lifting up and beating everybody else to the hoop. And then on the floor, he could also use that strength to carve out space. If any smaller guards or wings are going to try to block him out, that's not going to be a recipe for success. Watch him here just move Jalen Brunson out of the way, setting up another putback in front of the basket. Now, when looking at Walsh's creation off the dribble, this is where I think he has some room for improvement. To start off with the positives, he can beat closeouts and charge the basket pretty effectively, and because of that outside shooting, he is commonly drawing some pretty aggressive closeouts. But when Walsh is slicing towards the basket and he has to deal with multiple bodies, he often loses his touch, and many of his finishes will clank off the rim. And with where his skill set is at right now, all he is just a straight line driver. So while Walsh isn't a super dynamic or high volume scorer, he still finds ways to give the Celtics a ton of value. He's an efficient 3-point shooter, he's got the athletic tools to be a really good cutter and offensive rebounder, plus they can plug him into a variety of actions as a screener. All that efficient offense, combined with him being a super dynamic and versatile wing defender, I think makes Jordan Walsh one of the best role players in the NBA.